let's start. I'm really happy that we're all together again. Not all in the same location. What's that? I actually would like to thank all of you for this wonderful exhibition, and I would like to thank Jessie and Poon for making it possible, for curating and inviting you all. So, Jessie and Poon, you created this Strugglingartspace.
Basically, it's Jessie.
It's basically Jessie. Okay,
I'm helping Jessie,
but you're also part of it. It's
also
yes.
like part of it.
Okay, so can you say something about what's Strugglingartspace?
Yeah.
What is it? I mean, it has a very interesting name, and I think for a lot of artists, it has something like very close and very familiar from the name. So yeah.
Yeah, I can tell more about Strugglingartspace, but first off, we also want to thank SIBO, like this ESSZIMMER, inviting us to have an exhibition here. This is amazing project. It's also, for some of us, it's kind of the first time like Fans giving you a class. Yeah. Also, like, thank you, Ella, and also like our audience, like supporting and coming. So thank you for all the artists who participated. So it's been amazing. I can tell more about Strugglingartspace, which is quite familiar to all of us in terms of the adjective struggle itself. It started from my personal project as my graduation one. So it's in 2021. So it was supposed to be struggling artist. So I was searching for failures I encountered on the way of becoming an artist. And I collected spells from people and what I called spells, which is actually like wisdom from people that helped me with my struggles. So I was engraving words on ready-made objects that people and artists can use it to deal with their own struggles. And later on, we think with another artist, we think maybe we can set it up like an art space so we can collaborate with other artists. So it's more about resources allocation and also like how we deal with the comparison and also competition as artists, where anxiety and desire usually arouse from all this competition and also very competitive art world. So it's where we started, and then we engaged with different kinds of projects in Netherlands and also Sweden and Trust in the US and now Bonn. So yeah. So
creating a structure like that means also that you're like a little institution. So you can in a certain way. Yeah. So you have a different kind of form. It's different when you approach people as with this form than when you approach people as just an artist.
Yeah.
So it's now about almost 4 years.
Yes.
You have experience with the project?
It's like 3 years.
After graduation.
Yeah,
3 years. Okay.
So I didn't expect to have this long.
So do you think that it helped to struggle better?
Yeah, it helped a lot. At the same time, it brings me struggle, like involving in projects. There's a lot like different kinds of work to do and then people involved, and that's part of the struggle. But in terms of dealing with resources allocation for some projects, normally it's more like for duo or two artists or one artist, but I try to expand it a little bit further to involve more artists. That's helped a little bit. I like the way that you say it, like institution, when it comes to like learning from other art space, because I'm more like an artist. So on the way of curating or organizing exhibition, I tend to learn from different art project and art space. But when it comes to dealing with people or communicating or even like curating, searching for artists, it's more like human, like artist side. So for example, when we are doing the exhibition, we often start with conversation. So I try to figure out artist and also the topic from the conversation we have. Yeah.
So that's actually the good like link to this exhibition.
Yeah.
And how did this project evolve? Where's the title come from, and the idea of and how did you pick the artists?
Yeah. So we first tried in Biruma School in 2022. That exhibition was made the art world tear us apart till we meet again. So in that exhibition, it was supposed to be 2 artists, but then we thought about, if it's about struggling artists, why not we have a group of people? So we we got 12 artists in total. So for that version, we tried to invite artists whom we have conversation about being a struggling artist. So we transform all this conversation into struggling questions, and then we create one artwork and also one written response to deal with these questions. And it all started with how. So when we were curating this exhibition, I Don't Know How to Love You, Teach Me to Love, it's also twisting a little bit from that version.
Okay, so this exhibition is less about, well, it's also a little bit
It's
about
less
struggle.
about struggle.
But
It's also,
more like the struggle, like in relationships.
yeah,
So,
more like being fragile and also how to get close to people, but not to be that close.
Mhm.
Yeah, so more about relationship and friendship, but the format is a little bit similar to that one.
So is that something which is an issue for you or for the involved artists? Or maybe it's also a good time now to introduce the artists sitting there listening. So to get them a bit more involved and to hear also their side.
Yeah, that's good. This exhibition basically is about finding love and also dealing with struggles in relationship in this busy world. So I call it also the constraint of time and space. So we have 6 artists from Hong Kong in this exhibition. Our work is very varied from like drawings to painting, collage, and also video work. So each of us, we got story behind the work or may not, but it has to be related to relationship. And we all started from the conversation we had and we developed the work from time to time, different conversations. Maybe it's also good we take turn to introduce our work.
Yeah, would be cool.
Yeah. Who would like to start, or who want to tell us more about your work? And
not all at the same time.
Maybe mention first.
I think we had long conversation about how to deal with the topic at the first, like very beginning, because we have the title called Friends of Friends from You.
Yeah.
And so we try to like think about like define what the relationship is, like how to what does it mean by friends and friends and friends. So I think we start from that point. But for me, my work is always about something how we can build up a kind of identity that is different from before, like especially for those artists that move to the other country. Then I think a lot of Hong Kong artists, they try to deal with that kind of Hong Kong identity, like always like this. I think every time all the time think about Hong Kong is, and
Oh.
I'm also thinking about the same question. And
So do you think more about Hong Kong and the identity about like the Hong Kong identity more than that now where you are not in Hong Kong?
I think recently I have a show about like talking about building a home in the foreign country. Like how what Hong Kong really is. Is it the place or is it the country or so?
Or the people.
Yeah, or the people.
Yeah.
Then I think in my work also like try to explore that kind of relationship between, like maybe home is a kind of relationship between peoples that you know, no matter who they are, no matter they are what race they are or what kind of people they are. Then and it becomes some I think it's become a conversation, a conversation with another friends, and we have a email conversation talking about how are you and you moved to somewhere and is it good that staying in a foreign country, some talk like this. Then and I at that moment I also want to have a show about that kind of relationship and how to build up I call it permanency, the feeling, the sense of permanency or feeling of permanency. Yeah. So we have some conversation about that, and I crow the email this time in this exhibition and talking about like something about Hong Kong situation and also our life here, and yeah, it become the work here. Yep.
Yeah. In the beginning, I didn't think of whether we should stick to relationship or not, because I always think about made the artwork tear us apart. That's also a kind of relationship in terms of artist structure. Then later on, when this title about love came to my mind, I let the artists, we had a discussion on it and we all loved the title. And the Man one is more about identity, but we also got other stories from other artists, which is more personal level. For example, I first had a conversation with Jennifer, who talks about workplace, but then later on she also switched from relationship in workplace to her grandfather. So maybe Jennifer, you can tell us more about your work.
Yeah, that would be cool.
So like for my work, it first started with exploring my relationship with my coworkers in my new workplace, but then I switched to exploring relationships between my grandfather and me, because last year in December, my grandfather passed away, and it was creating a lot of emotion breakdowns or a lot of feelings um, towards him, because we used to live together when I was little. Like basically, I spent my whole life living together with him in the same house. But then our relationship is not that close. Even like physically, we are living together. We see each other every single day. So like that incident was really impactful, and I just want to find an exit, like emotion exit, to try to process or try to express my personal feelings. That's why I turned to art making again, because after graduation I don't really have time, and I'm struggling between my day job and also so I don't really have time to, or really have the space or make room for art making. And so like this invitation from Jessie was really helpful in a sense. I can pick up the art making routine, and also I can um, it's very important to find ways to channel your emotions. And I can say art making is, it's one of the format that you can use for the most intimate or the most fragile emotions or feelings. And so like I enjoy the whole process, like um, because I started to explore different media like the plaster molding 6 months before the show start. So I really have good time exploring, just using my personal time to explore the media and also the materials. Yeah.
Yeah, so the story from Jennifer also echoes a little bit to Fan Manwai's work, which is also related to family. But I found it not really interesting, but complicated when it comes to family. Like, yeah. So can you tell us a bit your work?
Hi everyone, my name is Fan and you can call me Manwei. And my art practice is normally doing some modeling and casting. And normally my artworks are about some ridiculous thing or some low technology. But this time I I made a very a quite a bit ridiculous but also quite serious artwork. And that artwork is about I collected a tooth from someone, and my work name is 講大話甩大牙, and it is a Cantonese slang, and which means you tell lie if and you will lose your teeth. So, and I just collected a tooth from someone, and um I I don't know how to deal with the emotional with this person, because um he or she told a very big lie to me, and I just collected that tooth, and I turned this tooth into an art piece. And I made a video to talk about the whole story. And also I make some lollipops. And the special things of the lollipops are they are mold from a tooth that I collected. Yeah. And I also make lots of the mold, the casting of the tooth, and I just pin all the teeth on the whole. Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me like just yesterday I had a very good conversation with one of the writers of the exhibition, Elizabeth, that we came across with Jennifer's work, what she described as is a way out of grieving, the passing away of a relative. Mm-hmm. But then because in Jennifer's work we also placed one of Ailsa's work inside. So she commented like some of the work is like way out, but for Ailsa's work it's a little bit like it's just what it is. And for Man White, I remember one of the audience who is a photographer, and he asked us, did you forget? Oh, that's not a photographer, but an audience. Like, did you deal with the forgiveness? And yeah, did you get over it? And then I found it intriguing. I'm not sure if after making the work, you were like Jennifer, you're already like dealing with it, or it's just being there. And, yeah,
I think I'm still dealing with the emotions and the way out of myself. But interesting, the very interesting things are I met a lot of strangers during the whole trip. One of him is a worker in a museum, and we chat a bit, and he told me that love is very difficult. And other person I met was before I left Germany, and she's a British lady, and because of the DB delayed a lot, and we have a quite long conversation, and I told her about I have an exhibition in Bonn, and it was about blah blah blah, and she told me when she was young and she had the same situation like me, and she said after many years she think if a person she hopes can find the peace one day, yeah. And she also is a family issue, and she said maybe she and her mother didn't really become very close at the end, but at least she finally forgave her, yeah, and she relieved. She felt relief after she forgave her mother, and I hope I'm these two people just maybe give me a little bit hope, I think, and yeah, and I'm still thinking about my own issue. Yeah.
We also met a very interesting lady talking to each of us about like, you have to build up a family early to everybody here.
No, I didn't have a conversation with
No.
her on building family, having a family, but I remember one audience, she was like, right, because we got a chocolate pen table that people can write comments with chocolate, and then I was saying like how to love, and that woman responded like, when I was young, I tried, kind of like I forgot. Yeah, I tried, but it's not working. And for another staff I met, like in the cafe in the museum, he said like when there is fear, there is no love. But he tried to relate it to a bigger context of society as a whole. Yeah. So yeah. And we also got to other artists. The work is also one of them, like Ailsa's work, is not really. It's kind of like it's what it is, but yeah, maybe we can also know more about your painting and also like video work.
So, hi, I'm Elsa Wong. So, for me, I really don't have a very completed story like Jennifer or Van. But for me, my works more like they're conveying some very scattered fragments of my emotions. And I think talking about the relationship, I think it's the relationship between me and my inner self. So in terms of love, maybe it's about self-love, I think, for my works. And I always think when I was doing the artwork, I think I'm always like having conversation with the materials. And when the materials respond back to me, and I can find something that I never like discovered before, like my something deep inside, like my subconsciousness, something that I never realized. But while the art making progress, it it kind of let me know that it exists. So for this exhibition, I created uh, some works with new material and also new method that I never used before, like the metal plate. One of them is a metal plate called Unrest Night, and I actually bought the metal plate a long time ago, and I put it under um, my the pot of my flower, and then the water. When I water the pot, the water leak, and then it kind of creates some rust on the metal plate, and I found the rust is really beautiful, so I decided to make a work out of it. So when I was creating the metal plate work, I use acrylic and water, and somehow the rust just grow inside, like really just like a plant growing. And so so this is not my original idea to create a very plant-like form, but when I was looking at the rust, I just follow the material, and that's how it is, how it is created. And for the other work, it's like a big fabric hanging in the space, and also with some little toy ends on the string. For this one, it's also a new method that I never tried before. It's a very light fabric I work with, and I actually pour some bleach on it, and then it creates some white stalks. And somehow, because the fabric is so light, so thin, so it created some semi-transparent part of the painting. So for this one, uh, I also use sewing, the sewing method to use to deal with the work, and I consider it as a big web, like a spider web at the first place, and that's why I bought those like ends to echo with it. Yeah, so but I didn't imagine how it would be installed before I really arrived at the venue. So it's like a dialogue with the space too. Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting approach. We also had a conversation with Elizabeth yesterday that she thought your work is like looking for order in chaos, and she said like only in chaos that order exists. So she also suggested the term cosmos, which I think Ailsa is also interested in, like universe and cosmos, but also like order in it and chaos. Like what you said for your video Lum, it's also like in the side of your world and also the outside world and the noise and everything.
Yeah, the order and disorder, they seem to be very like contradictional ideas, but they can't exist without the other. So for me, I was thinking like, should we like find order in disorder, or maybe we are finding disorder in order too? I mean, in my like everyday life, I think I've been always searching for disorder in order, because I'm so I can't be bored for me. So the disorder part is something I'm really interested in. Like,
Yeah, you mean your art practice is more about like self love, loving yourself? Can you tell us more about how you relate your like exploration of the materiality of the painting process and also the self love?
so my works may not have a very completed story. Like for Jennifer or Ben, they created a work for like emotion exit for their emotions. But for my works, they also kind of works like emotion exit for me too. So in my work, I remember Sibyl asked me why they are all like in the same color palette and they're so dark or something. I got an audience talking about the colors too. She said she's really concerned and look at me in the eyes like this. I think you should really go outside and look at the sunshine, look how beautiful the world is. she, I think she thinks I'm really like mentally sick. So kind to me and really worry about me. So, so I have to tell her that I'm okay. Actually, they are just like my dark side of me that I need to put them in my artwork, but I'm not always 100% so dark all the time. So for me, um, you can see that my work there, even in my very colorful video, the scenes are not very pleasant or lovely, like the headless man and also like the dying pigs. I don't know if you can see it or not. They are actually pigs lying on the road in my video. So they're kind of like talk. They're like a relief of my bad emotions, like fear, like yeah.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you touch some part of very like dark things in the world and some very scary things, sometimes it becomes some hilarious image, and I think it's also a kind of relief for the artist that keep touching that darkest part.
Yeah.
But I think in this exhibition, this really worked very well. What's happening now? Oh, you're showing some of the images. Because it really it creates quite a big contrast also to the other work. So I think that's why it creates nice differences, and is a good point within the exhibition. Let's put it that way. So I think it's
Yeah, I'm not sure, like, I would describe it as dark. Maybe different people have different perspectives, but for me, it's kind of playful because of the ants and like the toy, and we also decided to put it like Ailsa's work in at the entrance of the exhibition because the video is kind of ambiguous and poetic, and it's just the noise itself or the sound that can open up people's mind and create a vibe that people slowly get into the exhibition, and the first thing they're gonna see is a floating object, and it's a bit like a rhythm, like
it brings a good I think it mingles good in the exhibition and helps also structuring things and creates a contrast. So
I also imagine the exhibition will be like some of the space or some of the work as a full stop or like a semicolon, or like the garden, because we got the front space and the back space, and the garden in between is a bit like a resting place and for the audience to breathe, and then when you go into the back space, cool down a little bit. Although the weather this day is a bit hot, but like cool down a little bit and then go into the back space. The vibe is a little bit different, and so for example, I always see Rose's work is a little bit like not really a full stop, but like a semicolon, to pause. It's a pause of the exhibition or the whole story.
So I mean, you already mentioned, so maybe Rose,
right?
Would you like to tell something about you and your work?
So hi everyone, I'm Rosalie. So as Ailsa just mentioned, that there might be different like dark sides or states where an artist or curator or even a person will experience even within a day. So different kind of states and different kind of moments and emotions. So in my work is titled 100 Days of Winter, Winter in the Blankets, and it examines what is this one moment in time. And I'm always curious about how one moment creates a lasting impression. So for this work, I actually reference the film Tempting Heart, which was released in 1999. And towards the ending of this film, the protagonist actually unboxes a wooden box full of photos from her lover. So her lover basically took pictures of the sky every time when he misses the protagonist. So this is sort of like a background. And I've always liked how the film touched me in a very simple but direct way, in which I have always resisted and kind of like avoided in my art practice before. I've tend to think and contemplate with many ideas before coming to one idea or theme before starting a work. But this time I tried to think about what is our living condition now. And it started with all the goodbyes. And most of the goodbyes, especially in Hong Kong, are very sudden. So I would say when it became a kind of reality, this kind of sudden goodbyes and this kind of even not being noticed of departures of someone you're close to, sometimes it could be sad, but sometimes it could also be a positive thing in which you think about how the person who left could actually move forward in time and in their kind of room for creation and a kind of projection for the future. So for this work, I actually invited friends, around 100 of them, before 8th of May, so whom I have met or chatted with 100 days before 8th of May, and I invited them to write a sentence, and the sentence is for a friend who's not beside them at the moment of writing. And the second thing that I ask for is an imagery of the sky. So after I have asked for all these kind of responses, I gathered them, I printed the photos, and I wrote the sentences respectively to each of the envelope that I folded. So I chose the kind of blue and semi-transparent tracing paper, which echoes with the color of the sky when reflected. So the sky might not been blue like every time and always, but when it's reflected, there's kind of blueness there. And I'm always interested in how people think about one moment and who do they think about. So this is basically what my work is about.
Yeah, I think most of us, we got invited to send a I responded very late, but when I was asked to take a picture, I saw the moon and I should take a picture for Rose's work, and then I have to think of a person. But to my experience, I don't have a specific friend, but more like friends I lost, like child friends. When you were like a child, lost a lot of friends. Yeah. So I like Rose's work to be there. It's just we set it up under the window of the ceiling, which makes it like poetic.
The sky is connected to the sky.
Yeah. Yeah, also like the work from Manpan, because you got a little painting and then you write something, a little notes. You also write something about sky when you
Oh yeah, that is not my poem. Actually, it's from my girlfriend, and they yeah, it's yeah, it's quite complicated. Like we are trying to deal with different kind of relationship, right? And I think it's also about, like, I think that the content of the program, we talk about, like, are we looking at the same sky when we are apart, like from here, or what, some people in here, some people there. So what is there, like, any different after some time when we met together? And also I use the same why are you laughing at me?
Sorry?
Why are you laughing?
But I think it's a very common sort of a story or topic, this kind of that we're all around the same sky, and that it's sort of like or there are all these very sentimental and romantic films where then one person at one place looks at the star, and then another person somewhere else looks at the same star, and then they sort of at the same time, and then they feel connected. So it's this kind of, it has this kind of, sort of poetic, romantic, sentimental thing. But then, of course, and then you even have them in those blue envelopes. So blue is also a very romantic color, at least in European art history. But then you have it in this this archive box, so it becomes sort of very bureaucratic somehow. So you have it like stocked up, and it also breaks a little bit this completely sentimental aspect. But I think it's a really poetic work.
Yeah, I've always liked how the work was presented, like in the end, because it's not very common. It's not a common kind of presentation. If I look back at my previous art practice, but I like how it evolves with the space itself, and also having the experience of living together with the artists of this exhibition, and also working with them together, we influence each other, I think, in a very subtle but also important way. So it's about how to kind of step forwards in a way of breaking your own way of working and thinking about the context of the exhibition, as well as what presentation, how to vary your own presentation and art thinking in your own artwork, and to echo and to create conversations with other artworks in the same exhibition. And the idea of the archival and index cards, I think, is something for the future. So I would describe it as an archive for the future.
Cool.
Yeah.
So so maybe you should come also to your work. You avoided that sort of.
I got one little note. Like Rose's work, she's using a box that she brought along when she's traveling all the way from Hong Kong, and she just created. Yeah. So for my work, it's once upon a time there was a baker wanted to be an artist. It's always very long, the title.
Why? I mean, why do you think your titles are always long? I mean, it's like a mini story.
Yeah, it's so long. You mean like why is it always like this, or why I think it's long?
I mean, it's sort of it's almost a small narrative by itself. The title. So. It's always been like that, or what's you just like stories?
I try to experiment and not to title my work with this long sentence. I tried, but kind of it doesn't.
Because you think it's not good to have long titles.
Yeah, the short title just doesn't come to my mind. It's just here.
Yeah.
And it's also interesting for I Don't Know How to Love You, Teach Me to Love. It's also very long. That I had this conversation with someone that I am using it as a strategy seems a strategy to wrap things up. So I'm not sure if this also happened to me, but
I think if you use a long title, then you specifically want the audience go to a specific direction instead of
you create a space. You create a mental space with the title, because it's also for. I mean, it's also like a poem a little bit. So you create a particular atmosphere with that, and then you sort of you wrap up the visitor or the viewer in this kind of special bubble. So you trap them actually.
I never thought of that. So it's always interesting, like when we talk about work, that I can get to know what's actually I am doing, like probably unconscious, but it's true that the title itself, it gives a little bit of mental aspect, like it wanted to be an artist, so probably something happened that drives that person crazy. And this work is basically also like creating ready-made objects. So it's about someone who wanted to be an artist that the desire and the urgency turns her to turn everything she used as baker into a little art space, a little artwork. So she just filled in the space with paint and also the action, the gesture of painting the work. And there is also this burnt toast in the middle of the installation. For the burnt toast, it said how to love myself like loving a burnt toast. So it's kind of the starting point of this project, because the main issue with love is that I don't know how to love myself. So, and I wonder why. And when it comes to not loving myself or self-hate or self-doubt, I realize it's much related to my career as an artist. And I also had this conversation with somebody that she thought maybe I like art more than other people, or I like art more than myself. That's why I feel that I put too much effort and time in art that I forgot, let's say, my partner or my family or my friends, everyone, even my cats, that I feel very guilty about it. So I try to answer this question and figure out how I can love myself, but I think I'm still learning, like maybe a little bit. Like today I had a very good meal, and this is probably a good move to love myself. Yeah.
So there's a struggling part.
Yeah.
Back again.
Yeah, very much. Yeah. Yes.
So it's also in this, let's say, in this the context of the exhibition, it's about self-love, the relation to yourself and your identity, and how you can bring things together.
Yeah, if I have to put it like what kind of relationship, it could be between dreams and also reality. Like reality means the bread baker, and dreams as artists making artwork, but probably deep inside it's about self-love and, and how to love through making art. It looks very pale and use a lot of transparent materials.
So maybe you, the ones online, want to type in the question, and then we can check. And hier jemand eine Frage?
I think if they want, they can also use the mic and
Right. Yes.
also turn the camera if they want.
Everybody's so timid.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe I can also share a little bit more about the title, or like strategies, not just survival. Because in terms of the work itself, it's also kind of strategy, like the whole exhibition or the tradition of Strugglingartspace to invite artists to think of a question in their everyday life, which is challenging, and they use time to react on it with artwork as one of the format, and also written response. So in this exhibition, everyone writes a recipe for the artwork, but which is an extension of the work instead of like caption. So I was asked by one of the audience, like, why using recipe? Why not a caption? So I was like, normally if we have caption, we get to know the medium of the work, which is quite physical and tangible. But I think it's also interesting to know the inspiration of the artist, and inspiration in terms of not just where this idea comes from, but more like what's in your life experience. I think when artists are writing for their recipe, it's not really accurate, because we kind of made up something. Some of the things are real. And I also question, like, when we are writing the ingredients, maybe it's not the whole picture. So it's just part of us that we believe, and it's what we think.
It's a kind of selection of what we think about
maybe it's
what is
not
important
true.
and what is the main ingredient. Then, and also about the aesthetic of your design in every different exhibition, and keep using similar like aesthetics, and that's also a part of the reason.
You mean aesthetic in terms of the work?
Yeah,
or
that kind of form, face, and colors.
yeah, it's, some said it's a little bit melancholic.
You mean the design?
The whole atmosphere.
Als ik een question.
Yeah.
How much does the surrounding, the political world around you influence your feelings? You came from Hong Kong. You are in Hong Kong, yes. It's a different, completely different world from here now. And I guess you left after or before the handover.
Yeah.
And living here is at this time quite different from then. Of course, not kind of the world before. And how much does this influence your feelings, your certain feeling of yourself and your exchange with the other people?
I think it's a really good question about my home place. That in this exhibition we got 6 artists from Hong Kong, and 4 of us are still living in Hong Kong, and only like Manpan and I are being away from Hong Kong. That
Sorry.
it's okay.
You used to live in Hong Kong.
Yeah. I used to live in Hong Kong. I was here because
Study.
yeah, mainly for study, and so that makes it interesting. I am coming to a foreign place in search of opportunities, a bit like what Manpan is doing, and I found echoes in his work because he questioned about relation and also distance with family. That triggers me a lot, like not just homesick, but also like the guilt of making art, of not being able to take care of my family because of the distance, but also like what am I doing with art? Yeah. But a lot of people, like especially for the audience, they were like, if you think of your mom, maybe she doesn't think like this way. She probably proud of me. So I think the home place is a lot for me to deal with. I think I try to kind of escape from it in my work. I do have some art project. It's about home, but I'm always like generalizing the whole situation with a metaphor and my perspective of seeing it. In Manpan's work, I think you were more straightforward to think about what home is for you, and
I also have a struggle about like why are we like
what
making
we are
art
doing.
and what we are doing.
Yeah.
Then sometimes I make something that like art people really like. Then many people question, like without the art background, they think, oh, it's nice, but so what? Then I think this year I'm trying to put even more layers in my work. Like there's some more details about the content, and also because of my painting background, I try to integrate some painting element in my work also. So trying to like linking the content with the materiality of the painting, and also the visual impact, how visual impact affect the understanding of this kind of situation, maybe what I described in my work.
Yeah. I also like when it comes to our home, I always call it like, I just term it like busy world in this exhibition. But what does it mean by busy world? I would say like the constraints of time and space, like do we still have time for love? Because let's say some of the artists, we don't have studio space. We are like doing our work in our home setting, domestic setting. And some artists, they are doing like a full-time job, that this exhibition really creates time for them to think about it and to try to deal with something that is quite urgent, but also like very intimate. So it's more like, it's a bit universal when it comes to finding time. I think even like here it's more slow. it's still a lot to process. Like, yeah.
I was wondering, I mean, as far as I saw all the past projects under this struggling art space construct, you always invited Hong Kong based artists, right? So that just happened, or that's happened on purpose, or
Yeah, I also got this question like yesterday. It's kind of quite deep, a bit like what I said about my home place. Seems I'm avoiding it, but at the same time, it seems I'm always insisting to have Hong Kong artists in exhibition. Sometimes I ask myself why, because it's always like distance. I'm traveling a bit to different places to set this exhibition up. So when exhibitions are international and I bring the work of Hong Kong artists, there is this distance I have to deal with. Sometimes I set up the work myself, or like Manpan also like involving, and the workload and also struggle makes me question. But I still insist because I would think of the opportunity in Hong Kong, but also like, is there any possibility and time and space for us to initiate project? I think we do have a lot, but at the same time, I think I got this probably attachment or linkage with the place that also like in 2019 I left Hong Kong, so I feel the urge to continue to just do exhibition as a way to tell our story. Yeah.
Well, I think it's really nice that you are facilitating this kind of bridging, actually, and making this kind of exchange also possible, because I think it's really, there's not so much institutional exchange going on as far as I sort of see. They're not really so there are not many artists have the possibility to go there to do something there, and then vice versa, so also on the other side, which I always, no matter what kind of country, I always think that's a pity, because it's so important to bring different worlds, mental worlds and physical worlds together, and meet each other, and sort of create also relationships. We're back to the topic of the exhibition. So I think actually it's a nice thing that you're focusing on Hong Kong artists, despite the fact that, as you said, it's also not so easy, because it means that you have more workload, because the artists not always can have the possibility through financing, etc., to be present and come. So, but to make this artists visible in other places from Hong Kong, and then maybe also at a certain place have like other exchanges.
Perhaps with this discussion, I think
we
think
also founded the for the exhibition space before.
Yeah,
but
we
I think
try.
every people quite busy. Then we do it later.
Yeah, we kind of picture it. It will be nice to. It's always nice to me to go back, or like Manhattan, not really go back, but like we have the exhibition version here, but it's also nice to have it in Hong Kong, because
So
it's
travel,
just not
let's say to let the exhibition travel a bit.
Yeah, like travel.
Yeah.
But for now, I think I think
like
it's
your
nice
word,
to
you just go back. Then your go back is to learn Manchester, and my go back is to the Netherlands.
Yeah, but like I don't have really a destination to go back to somewhere. Like my home is like Hong Kong, but yeah. But the thing is, like, I think it's important for us to absorb a little bit the knowledge we got from this exhibition, and to take a break from it and to see what's next. And like a few years ago, I never thought of I would curate, or like not really curate, but create or organize exhibition. I always thought I'm just an artist. Like it's my dream to be like. In 2018, I got this graduation project about my big dreams of art that I had almost like 40 dreams every night about the art world, like the galleries coming to pick up my work or not, and then someone not giving the award to me. So it's always the desire in the art world is the subject matter that I wanted to deal with. And so I never thought of making exhibition actually. Yeah.
Sutong has a question.
Oh, we got a question.
We got a question?
From Sutong.
Hello, can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
So nice to see you guys. And just writing on just now the conversation, I'm just gonna ask, like, for our artists, you guys come from Hong Kong. So do you make any adjustment just because the exhibition is in a foreign country or foreign place? Does it affect your like material or way of expression? Yeah, just want to know more about that. Or some of you have emails and or stories which is very local to me. So just want to hear from you guys. Yeah.
I think, to be honest, that I think a lot of Hong Kong artists using Taobao, like the Chinese online store to buy a lot of stuff there. But the first thing is that the material, that we use different material now in Europe, and the second thing is that of course we have to like adjust. Like for example, for me, I study for the first year. I think my painting always talking about some like something that Hong Kong people may interested, but I think nowadays I try to think about the context of the Europe and how people here think about the work. If they don't know the background, and if they like how many I should tell in my work about the background that I illustrate. So when the audience different, then sometimes there's something additionally added to the work. I think that's my case.
For me, in terms of adjustment, it's not really about the material. So for me, ideas and thoughts are always material for me in the process of creation. And it has been a very precious experience to be able to travel in person with the fellow artists to Poon and to experience the space and the time there in about 10 days for me. And it has been a very enriching experience in which I rethink what is Hong Kong and what is Hong Kong artists to say. And it's very different when you think about it here in Hong Kong, and when you think about yourself being displaced and living in another country or another space. And I think the exhibition, the most precious experience in terms of installing and rethinking about the notion of Hong Kong and what is Hong Kong artists and what is Hong Kong based artists. So I think this is, I would not say that this is adjustment, but a rethinking process which happened only if we could be in person, personally travel to another place in the world.
Yeah, but I think that's a general thing what happens. I mean, it doesn't, it's not a Hong Kong thing, but it's just whenever as an artist you have the possibility to go to another country for residency, for a project, for something site specific. So there is, you always react not on purpose, but because it's part of your work to react on on the context, on where you are. So there's always immediately this kind of shift, and things are changing a little bit by because you're confronted with a different context. So suddenly things are you perceive things differently, and so I think that's actually the interesting part about this kind of going to somewhere else, and because you also learn always a lot about yourself and your work, and you reflect differently when you're far away than when you're sort of at home. That's
Yeah, it's also like interesting when we were talking about the materials we use. I'm like staring at my work and to think about it, because one of the burnt toast, the paper I used actually is the same one as the one I used in 6 years ago in my graduation project, that I created a paper room that I thought is exactly the same as the Department of Fine Art, and then where I draw my dreams inside. And I was using the dry pastel to paint on it. And that kind of paper, when I was studying in the Netherlands, I created another paper room. I was also using that one. And the burnt toast is actually the paper I got, like, it's the work fragment from that paper room in Netherlands. So I am now in the process of transforming and also turning my old work that I don't like, but I think I just want to transform it. And there is also some kinds of materials. I bought it online. Taobao. I try not to, but sometimes it's just difficult because I got obsession in transparent materials. Like when I was doing the solo project in Hong Kong, I want to find this kind of hangers or a hook that is transparent. I either find it Amazon or Taobao. But at the same time, when I travel to places, when I make artwork, I also bought like secondhand stuff. Some of the fragment I couldn't bring it over like with a small luggage, so I have to figure out in secondhand shops. So some of the materials I reuse it, and some of them I bought it like foreign place, but some are inspiration from Taobao. Yeah. Yeah.
In Holland, you might as well have used Dutch paper. It's very good.
Oh, that one is from Dutch.
Yes.
The paper, the burnt toast one, is from the Netherlands. I just bought it and changed it into a toast. It's a kind of paper when you were making a dress or a clothing for someone. And also the glassine paper, because I like to draw on a little bit transparent paper. I just use glassine paper. That one is also from the Netherlands. Yeah, so I'm kind of insist, like, what happened if I can't buy it again online, where I can find it? But it's always this Netherlands website that I can got this certain envelope. Yeah.
Are there more questions from the online audience here?
Or do other artists got
happy?
a response of materials?
Questions here?
Is it a little bit abstract, or what do you think?
I don't know. This is the difficult question, but I don't think that in that way. But sometimes I also think about like here people immediately know you are from like Asian, then but I think a lot of people they trying to get to know the world more better recently. They would like they always ask, oh, where you actually come from, or you born here, or you're immigrant or something like respect more, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I am trying not to be a stranger.
You're not a stranger, you're so international. And I think
Yeah.
nowadays the world is so international. The whole world is moving, all people are moving.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's especially for you. But it's for your own feeling. And people look at you from heart.
Yeah, I think I do have that feeling of thinking how others perceive me as a stranger. And
I think even in Hong Kong, sometimes I think I am strange. But I think there are a lot of different ways that we think about it. That's why I'm thinking we are always trying to build up a home, even when we are in somewhere like foreign country. So home is not just about the country. Maybe it's more about relationship.
Well, home is also a construction.
Yeah.
And as artists, I think you always have this kind of status of being a bit foreign.
Yeah.
Even like when you grew up in a country or in a place, so you're always sort of, because you are placing yourself there on the border, because that's So I think it's
it applies to artist itself.
I think so.
Yeah.
So shall we close? Sort of?
Yeah.
Say goodbye.
If we don't have any questions.
No one else was raising, I think, or
Yeah.
typing. I would say thank you to the artists, first of all, and then thank you to the audience in Hong Kong. We didn't see, we have some names, but thanks for staying with us for the whole time. And thank you to the audience here.
Yeah.
That filled up.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you. Thank you all for coming.
I love this. How is she doing that with the heart?
Yeah.
Wow. Only thank
You have to share the trick.
No, I just
She's also doing
face
that.
on the camera and do the hard thing.
Magic.
I'm not sure why others.
So you have to do it on the phone.
No. I'm using laptop.
Okay, so why is it not working on mine?
don't
You have to
know.
move your hands towards the camera.
Oh, like this?
I just stay still in the house.
It's only working in Hong Kong.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you, and
It
thank you
was
for
great
the support.
seeing you again.
Thank you for
And-
organizing.
Was it a lion challenge?
Thank you.
Joy Kin.
Oh,
Bye
Joy
bye.
Kin. Bye bye. We say bye bye or Joy Kin.
bye bye. It's easier, I think. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
See
Thank
ya.
you.